total, this whole framework isn't to be so intense and carry around a notebook to all your dates and be like, does he check off all to my channel. My name is Caitlin and I run the blog called Mrs. Midwest. I live in Michigan, which is in the Midwest, with my husband and dog. And as usual, she's nearby. I just want to give a quick shout out to all my subscribers. I've had so many of you click the subscribe button and it has made me so happy. I can just see this community growing and that so many amazing feminine women, traditional women, homemakers, all of you have just made these last couple weeks seriously some of the best. I saw in the comments that a lot of you wanted a day in the life of a homemaker video, and I am going to make that for you guys. I'll just show you what I do every day. And again, if you have any other YouTube video ideas or blog post ideas or reader requests that you want to see, let me know in the comments below. Please follow me on all my social channels so you can get in touch. I love reading encouraging messages from you guys. And to everyone who has left me a very encouraging, positive message, that is just so wonderful of you. You are cultivating your character, spreading encouragement to other people, even though you don't have to, and it really means a lot. So let's get into the topic of today's video. Today, I thought we'd talk about how we can approach finding the one. I think women can have an action plan or kind of a game plan for what kind of rules you're going to follow when you're trying to find the one, without being weird or unrealistic or overly picky. By focusing on the 3 things that we're going to talk about in this video, you will be able to kind of narrow down on what you're looking for in an intentional way. You don't have to just say, oh, well, I'll just date whoever comes my way. But you also don't have to be overly like, I'm only going to date a 6-foot tall accountant from New Jersey and he has to be Orthodox Christian and blah, 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 blah. Today we're going to focus on compatibility in 3 areas. So there's going to be compatibility in who you are in an unchangeable way, your connection, your compatible emotional connection, and finally, compatibility in how you envision your life going, your future goals, all of that. So compatibility in those 3 areas. So let's get into the first one. Compatibility in who you are now. It's about things that you cannot change. You cannot change this about yourself. These are your personality. These are your religion, your values, your beliefs, your politics. That's very important. How you do spend money, how clean you are, if you can adjust to someone else's cleanliness. All of that is who you are now. And you are going to need to seek compatibility in those areas. And the way I recommend you do it is you either observe, and if that won't give you the answers, you need to ask. And I know people these days, they just kind of like chill and hang out with like a guy they met from work and we're just chilling, and it would be so weird if I asked him about my beliefs. I did that like a couple times. In college, I had this guy and I thought he was so ambitious and cool, and I was hanging out with him. We were studying a lot together, and we were studying and it was great, and we were getting really close. So we were sitting outside after a month of kind of hanging out, studying together, seeing each other, and he looks at me and he says, I want you to meet my family this Sunday. I want you to meet my mom. And I just remember was like taken aback, and I blurted out, I was like, but I don't even know what you believe about Jesus. I kid you not, I said that. And he was like, well, I don't really believe in Jesus. And I was like, well, then I can't meet your mom. And it just really struck me in that moment that I had wasted his time and I had wasted my time, and I had gotten attached to somebody where it would never, ever, 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 ever work, because we had an intrinsic difference in this area that I talked about, which is beliefs and things that we cannot change about ourselves. And I don't regret getting to know him, because it really taught me a lesson. But I wish instead of just trying to be this cool, chill girl all month, I wish that I had at least broached the subject early on, so that it would have saved us both heartache. So Look for compatibility in those beliefs. Again, if you're kind of wishy-washy on politics, if you don't know much about like the Russian collusion or what's going on with the Green New Deal, and you don't care, but you're open to more liberal or more right-wing beliefs, find a guy in one of those areas. Aim towards kind of what you feel, even if you don't really have a specific set of beliefs, or if you're not checked like I'm a Democrat or I'm a Republican. For my wonderful viewers in Canada or Europe, I know you have a ton of different political parties, but kind of like figure out where you are in that spectrum. Create kind of a belief for yourself. For my personal preference, I wanted to be with someone who shared my beliefs. So I found my husband and I share the same political beliefs. It's so much fun to talk about. We love talking politics. We love sharing articles. We love talking about different YouTube videos or people we support. And it adds another element to our relationship where we can talk about things going on in this world. We never have to walk on eggshells around each other. We never have to avoid topics. So again, anything in your life that is unchangeable, where you would have to actually avoid conversation just to get along, don't be with that person, okay? Don't be with someone especially my Christians, okay? Christians, look it up in the Bible. We are not supposed to date people outside of our religion, okay? I know that there is so many very attractive men from other religions, and I'm sorry, but if they are not a Christian, we are told in the Bible not to date them. For my people who aren't believers, you have a lot more free will here, because you get to make those choices. You don't have the Bible telling you what to do. So make that on your own. But again, I'd encourage you, find someone with compatible beliefs. These are the things that are going to matter when you're raising children together. When you're having breakfast 10 years from now, you've seen this person for 10 years and you want to chat about what's going on with your spiritual life. These things are so important. So please do not gloss over them. Do not gloss over the fact that someone might have a different religion than you or political beliefs. Be very careful with who you get together with and your ultimate compatibility in things you are, things that you believe, things that you participate in. Okay, this second area is the area of compatibility within our connection, our emotional connection. There's this element of je ne sais quoi. You don't know why you connect with somebody. You just have that connection. And it's something that cannot be faked, okay? It's this passionate kind of emotional feeling, and it's when you can talk with somebody all night, when you can be your complete self around that person, when they can look into you and they can see you for who you are and they accept you. And that's that emotional connection, and that's what I found with my husband. Yeah, I didn't even know that really existed. I had a very, very intense emotional connection with a boyfriend at the end of high school. And the problem was, even though I had this emotional obsession almost with that relationship and him, I didn't feel like I could be my full self with him. And so even though we had part of that emotional compatibility, there was still part missing. I had a boyfriend in college before my husband who I loved dearly as a friend, but I didn't have that passionate kind of connection where it's like, oh, I cannot get enough of you. I am in love with you. And I think it's important, even though everyone says, oh, the love fades, I still think it's important for you to build a connection involving that intense love feeling, that feeling of intimacy and bonding. And especially for me, as I told you earlier, I'm very emotional and very free-spirited, so it was very important for me to marry somebody who accepted that about me and who understands me. I woke up 2 nights ago because I had been having a bad dream. I'm getting my wisdom teeth out on Friday, and I had woken up imagining that the needles didn't numb the area enough, and I rolled over and I touched my husband and I woke him up and I said, what if the needles don't numb my mouth? What if blah blah blah? Because I have a big fear of the dentist. It's a long story, but he knew exactly what I needed in that moment. And he started kissing my forehead and he says, it's gonna be okay. And then he pulls me into this big bear hug, and he doesn't really say much about anything. He just says, you're gonna be okay, and I will hurt them if they hurt you. And it made me feel so loved and so secure. And I think that was very important for me in a relationship, was finding someone who could deal with my emotional ups and downs, but not think that I'm a bad person because of it. On a day-to-day basis, I have a lot of highs, I have a lot of lows, and he is so steady through that, and he is my emotional, passionate connection. And I think that was that intangible emotional connection that I had with him that I could not replicate with anybody previous to him. I just had this severe attachment and passion towards him, and a love that to this day, 3 years, 4, I don't know, it's been a few years of being together, being married and all of that, I still feel that way. I still feel very connected to him. And we've only been able to grow that intimacy because we have that base of being able to talk for hours. You know, when we first met, we were able to talk for 6 hours, like, at a time. It just never got old. And we just connected so much. And I do think a lot of women look for that in a guy. You're not gonna find that necessarily on a first date. You're not necessarily gonna find it right when you meet somebody. Sometimes people take a little bit longer to open up with themselves and their personality. I'm kind of shy. Believe it or not, I'm kind of shy, guys. But I take a little bit longer to open up and to kind of show my personality. I can be a little bit quiet. So I probably wouldn't have shown my real personality for a little bit, but my husband is very extroverted and patient, and he waited for that to come out. So don't write somebody off right when you meet them, or maybe even the first date. That fondness, that appreciation for a person can also grow over time. So don't be surprised if one day you wake up and you're like, that guy from accounting, I actually really like him, you know? It's so interesting how this emotional thing happens, and that's why I keep saying it's intangible. You cannot control it. You cannot stop who you are connected with, but it is important, okay? It's equally important, though, to your compatibility. So if you feel a super strong emotional connection with somebody who is not your religion, please reconsider, because we need to align these 3 areas. You know, it's not just emotional connection. I think that's where you get people who they are so obsessed with each other and then they end up getting married, and it's just problematic because they have all these differences. You know, so be aware. We want all 3 of these to align, but it doesn't mean one's important than the other. Let's go to number 3. Okay, finally, for this 3rd category, it's all about the future. And like I said, when you get married to somebody, it's not for today. It's not for your 20s. It's not for this next year. It's for forever. So that encompasses the lifestyle you want to live, how you want to spend your money, your children. Do you want children? Do you want pets? Like all those kind of things. And I think a lot of people kind of brush over this because they think, oh, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But the thing is, a lot of people have had a vision for their life for their whole life. And so for me, for example, I wanted children, okay? So I couldn't be with a guy who didn't want children. If you are very traditional and want to be a homemaker, don't marry someone who wants you to have that big career. If you are a homebody and want to live down the road from your parents, don't marry someone who wants to go live abroad in Europe. Be mindful of your future goals and frameworks for your life, because the future is coming at you so fast. And I encourage you to not be ashamed, maybe not on the first date or even the first few dates, but figure out if that guy wants kids. In my experience, every guy who I've had that conversation with, they are excited to have that conversation with me because they love the prospect of having children with me, of being married to me. So I would wait maybe to see if a guy is very interested in you, because if he's very interested in you and he loves your feminine energy, he wants to marry you eventually. If you say, hey, do you want children eventually? The idea of having children with you and making you the mother of his children, it's not a great leap, okay? So a guy might be offended by that or not into that early on in the relationship. But if he's not into that or even thought about it later on in the relationship and you really want kids, I would cut bait. Because if he can't see you as the mother of his children, he either doesn't see a long-term relationship with you or a marriage with you, or he doesn't want kids. All of those are kind of bad. You know, but again, don't base all of this off of a guy's initial reaction, because a lot of men need time to think about things. So you might spring on like, I was thinking the other day, like, I want 3 kids. He might be like, whoa, and then have to think about it, okay? Don't base your whole life, don't like break up with him because he's like, oh, I want to think about it, you know? But if he comes back to you later and he's like, okay, I decided I don't want kids, then you might need to, unfortunately, break up. I would ultimately say all of this I talk about future goals is all about how you want to set up your life. Don't info dump all of this onto a guy. Have this in your mind as you're screening guys. In total, this whole framework isn't to be so intense and carry around a notebook to all your dates and be like, does he check off all the stuff? You know, instead I would encourage you, for those belief kind of things, don't even go on a date with someone who doesn't share your beliefs. It's just not worth it. 2, once you're on that date, check to see if you have that physical attraction, that emotional connection, that intimacy, that room to build intimacy. And then finally, if you pass the beliefs, if you pass the connection, start to think about future goals, okay? So on your next few dates or the next few months that you're seeing each other, start to ask those questions. Find out if you have the same future goals. Find out if you want kids. You know, if all 3 of these align, you have the same beliefs, you have an emotional connection, you have a physical connection, and you want the same life, you're golden. You have found potential for someone to maybe be with for the rest of your life, if God leads you there and if they want you to. So in the end, I just encourage you to think about compatibility and don't just view external looks as a rule of thumb of who to date. Don't view jobs or money. Those were in here in one of the things I mentioned, but it wasn't all of it, you know? So think about that compatibility, think about those future goals, think about that emotional connection, and you will begin to see that full aspect of what you need in a marriage, because in a marriage you're creating a life together, you're going to be talking daily and having sex, and you are also going to be sharing beliefs and raising children. So all 3 of these areas are very, very important. So I thought I would wrap this up. I've been talking for a very long time. I just want to say thank you so much for everyone who made it to this point. Please like the video. Liking the video helps us grow our community. Sharing the video, commenting below, it all helps us grow. So thank you so much. Please follow me on my social media channels. Get in touch if you want to give me a video idea, and let me know below if you're interested in like a makeup kind of video closet. I'm not really sure, something along those lines. But in the meantime, have a blessed and wonderfully feminine day.